Mr. Alan Dershowitz, how are you, sir?
I am doing great. I wish the country were doing great. I think that the impending prosecution of Donald Trump will destroy the rule of law in America, which is why I wrote my book, Get Trump, because that's what they're doing. They're focusing on a person rather than a crime. You know, the Torah, the Bible, gives prosecutors and judges two instructions. One, don't take bribes. That's obvious. The other is lo takir panim, do not recognize faces. Do not do justice based on who the person is. That's a prohibition in the Bible. It's a prohibition in the Constitution. It's a prohibition in the Bill of Rights. It's a prohibition in the rule of law. And yet the District Attorney of Manhattan, ignoring previous district attorneys, ignoring the U.S. Attorney's Office, the Justice Department, is going after Bragg on a made-up crime, a crime that doesn't exist. It's part of Get Trump. And if you want to protest Get Trump, get my book, Get Trump. That'll send a message that we don't approve of that.
I tell you, I don't think people are going to go out in the streets and protest en masse, which a few years ago it would have happened. But I don't think they're going to do it this time because we know this federal government, this Justice Department, does not protect the lawful gathering of American citizens to speak their voice. We also are concerned about, is that an FBI guy who is trying to get the crowd, all whipped up into a frenzy?
Yeah.
I mean, we don't believe our rights are protected as an average citizen anymore. That's a frightening place to be in America.
And it's not only the Justice Department, it's the New York City DA's office, the New York City Attorney General's office. The Attorney General of New York ran on the campaign of Get Trump. That's where I got the title of my book from. Her campaign, Get Trump. She promised to get Trump no matter what. Constitution be damned. Bill of Rights be damned. The rule of law be damned. Get Trump. That's the most important thing. We have to stop him from running. Of course, the irony is even if they indict him and convict him, he can still run. The Constitution provides for only a handful of bases for running. You have to be 35. You have to not have fought in the Civil War against the North. And you have to have been born in America. And he satisfies all of those criteria. So he can still run. And this may backfire on Democrats who are abusing the law to get Trump. And I hope it does. And I hope that maybe the district attorney will listen to reason and not indict him, although Trump has said that he's likely to be indicted tomorrow. Justice Jackson once said that any prosecutor can rummage through the hundreds of statutes we have and try to find something against anybody, not just Trump, not just Hillary Clinton, but you and me and your Uncle Charlie and your grandson. They can find something. And if this prosecution is allowed to go forward and culminate in a conviction, it will mean that they will start making crimes up against the average person who they don't like.
Can you take us through this at all, Alan? Where,
sure.
Because people will say, okay, I don't think you should be paying hush money, but is that illegal? How are they? What charges are they going after? Has this ever been done before? Take us through this.
Sure, it's never been done before. Number one, so they're charging him with a misdemeanor. Misdemeanor has a 2-year statute of limitations. This happened 6 years ago. They're trying to turn the misdemeanor into a felony by saying that the reason he paid, quote, hush money, it wasn't hush money, he settled the case like so many other people do, but the reason he settled the case was to help his campaign rather than to avoid embarrassment with his wife and his family, his children, etc. They're not going to be able to prove that. But as the former chief judge of the New York Court of Appeals once said, a prosecutor can get a grand jury to indict a ham sandwich. And in New York, you can probably get a petty jury to convict a ham sandwich as long as his name is Trump. And so there is a possibility that he'll get indicted and get convicted. I think it will be reversed on appeal because the law doesn't permit targeting of individuals and making up crimes. This is a Mickey Mouse crime. So they say that he paid the hush money in order to help his campaign, and therefore the payment was a campaign contribution. It's never been done before. They tried it once before on candidate Edwards, and it was a much, much stronger case.
Right.
And, of course, they lost in front of a jury. But it's never been tried since. And that was a federal crime. This is a state crime. And it's a shame that a district attorney would abuse justice so greatly, and it endangers justice for all of us.
So, Alan, where is anyone? I mean, when we get to a place to where we're taking out our opponents, I mean, I spoke to Mike Lee about this with Hillary Clinton and what was going on with Hillary Clinton, and he said, Glenn, once you start going after a opponent, you become a banana republic. The republic is just over because retribution will. The other side will say, "Oh, we're playing that game, okay," and then you're just done.
Look, the head of a banana republic, one of the Central American dictators, once said, "For my friends, everything. For my enemies, the law, the law." And that's what will happen. And Senator Lee is right. Senator Lee's father was a good friend of mine. We clerked together on the United States Supreme Court. And Lee is a brilliant, brilliant guy. And he's right. And we don't want to be a banana republic on either side. And
but my question to you is, where are the classical liberals? Where are the people that don't like Donald Trump, but will stand up and say, this is about principle here?
Well, you're talking to them. I'm the last standing Democrat civil libertarian in the world. I may have a handful of colleagues, but where are the Civil Liberties Union people? Where are people who are supposed to care more about our liberty than they do about partisan politics? They have disappeared. They're not there. And that's why I'm the one writing the books now. Get Trump. I'm the one who's trying, as a liberal Democrat, as I've said over and over again, I voted against Trump twice. I have a constitutional right to vote against him a third time. And don't stop me from doing that. And don't stop you from voting for him. We shouldn't have district attorneys making the decision who can run for president. That is banana republic, and we're moving toward that, and it has to stop. And there's no mechanism. You know, in California, there was a mechanism. You could withdraw and remove the district attorney. And if New York had a Republican governor, they would be removing the district attorney. But with a Democratic governor and no recall provisions, the district attorney gets his way, and there'll probably be an indictment. I don't know if it'll be tomorrow or not. I don't know if he'll do a perp walk and handcuffs.
Jeez.
All of that, of course, would strengthen Donald Trump's base. People will be so angry with him. I've gotten calls from people who've read my book, Get Trump, and they say, look, we're planning not to vote for Trump. We were planning to vote for DeSantis. We were planning to vote for Nikki Haley. But we're going to vote for Trump because that's the way of showing opposition to this improper misuse and weaponization of the law. I have a better form of protest. Buy my book, then you don't have to vote for Trump. But it will backfire. Now, will it backfire in New York? Probably not. Probably Bragg increases his chances of getting elected. He gets his 15 minutes of fame. Even if it's reversed on appeal, he'll say, oh, that's not my fault. That's the appellate judges. I indicted him. I convicted him. Vote for me. We're the only country. Do you know this? That we're the only country in the Western Hemisphere, the only country among democratic countries that elects prosecutors. In every other country, they are civil service jobs, and they're not subject to the whims of political fortunes. But we have elected prosecutors, and prosecutors prosecute people based on how much good it will do them in the next election. And there's something very wrong with that.
Well, the whole system, I mean, I just keep saying, have you tried unplugging it and plugging it back in and reset it to factory settings? I mean, that's what has to happen. It is so dirty all the way through. So Alan, what should besides buying your book, what should the American people be doing right now?
Well, we should be protesting. I don't call for people going out on the streets, but I do call for people writing to their senators, their congressmen, to the New York authorities, having shows like yours, which have a big impact on national opinion, and make sure that we're not silent about this. We have to speak out. And your message is as clear as can be. Where are the civil libertarians? Where are the people who ought to be saying, look, I'm in favor of Biden. I'm going to vote for him. I don't like Trump, but I don't like the way he's being treated. That's just not fair. That's the American way. The American way is to protest, to petition your government for a redress of grievances. That's in the First Amendment. And we ought to all take advantage of that. We do have a double standard of justice in America today. I'm representing one of the young men on January 6th. He's a law school student. He was denied the opportunity to graduate, even though he was a top student, because he went to the Capitol to legitimately protest, patriotically and peacefully. And then he was waved into the Capitol by police. We have videotape showing it. And yet he's being prosecuted for a felony, whereas the people who destroyed property and hurt people in various parts of the country following the George Floyd murder weren't being prosecuted and were being honored in some ways. And so you can't have a double standard of justice. That means no standard of justice.